welcome to another episode of Transforming with Taryn. I am Taryn, and I am sitting here with the amazing Joseph. How are you?
Great, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here.
Pleasure to be here.
So we've already talked beforehand, but we're going to get into some of the stuff I always get into, so some of the social issues, but also this is very special to me because I feel like people like me, like I said, need to learn about buying a house. He's a real estate agent, right?
Yep, real estate agent. And a mortgage loan originator, too.
There you go. And I feel like a lot of people don't think that they can buy a house when it's probably more feasible than they think. And if I'm correct, and I'm not, I think a lot of times your mortgage payment is cheaper than rent.
Always.
Always? See?
Yeah.
See, and people just... I feel like you're renting and you're throwing money out the window. So we all need to
literally
stop doing that.
Literally setting it on fire every month.
Yeah, we need to stop doing that. Okay, but let's start here. How old are you?
35.
35.
Yeah.
All right. We actually went to high school together.
Right.
So we've known each other a very long time. I feel like when you have social media, like we have known each other for a long time, even though we don't hang out consistently or anything like that. So that's how we're, kind of still in touch. So the good side of social media, I guess.
Exactly.
And what is your ethnicity and your background?
So my father is Cherokee, and then my mother, she's black and white. So
okay.
I just check the black box because the one drop rule applies. Like, look at Mariah Carey. She's black. The one drop rule gets you there.
I mean, sometimes it's not even about the box you check. And unfortunately, sometimes it's not even about you checking the box. It's sometimes they check the box for you. And that's really unfortunate. So, speaking of the black portion, do you know what that black heritage is?
Honestly, no.
No, a lot of people don't, but it's just just a question.
Yeah.
So, when you were growing up, do you have any significant memories like involving your race or realizing like you were a different skin color?
Yeah, actually, growing up, I felt like I fell kind of in this weird gray area,
right?
Because I grew up in the valley, and a lot of the kids were like bussed in from the city to our schools, right? So that's where most of the ethnic kids came from.
Right.
So all the, I guess we'll say the black kids mostly were bussed in.
Right.
But I lived in the neighborhood, and I'm like lighter skinned and mixed race. So it's like you're not really black enough for the black kids, but then you're not really white enough for the white kids.
Right.
And because you live in the area and you speak proper English, you're not really black because you're not with the culture sometimes, like I don't think that speaking Ebonics or slang or whatever all the time is black.
Yeah.
And I don't think speaking proper English is white, but they call you like whitewashed if you live in the neighborhood and speak proper English.
Yeah, I guess. Like that's rough. I mean, yeah. So with that, have you ever, I mean, like you said, the one drop rule applies, but do you ever feel like you identify with one side more than the other?
100%. I definitely identify with just the black side, really, to be honest. My biological father and I don't have a relationship, so I don't even talk or know that side of my family at all.
Right.
I know obviously it's part of my DNA, but it's not part of my upbringing. It's not part of who I am as a person because I wasn't exposed to it.
Right.
Unfortunately, I mean, I kind of wish I was. I think that would be cool to understand that culture more.
Right.
Because they were straight off the reservation. So I would have loved to hear those stories and understand those struggles. Yeah. But unfortunately, I don't.
Well, do you know how your parents met, being that he was like right off the reservation?
Yeah. So they met actually in the mall in Philadelphia. So I was born in Philadelphia, but my family moved out here when I was a baby. Okay. But they met in the mall. They were just like crazy young kids in love in the mall. They were like in their early 20s.
That's adorable, actually.
Yeah, fell in love. My mom worked at I think it was like JCPenney or something like that. And he was like the security guard for the mall, and he kept on like walking by her little section and kept on shooting his shot. And they eventually went out and got married. A year later, I came
and here we are. All right. So you said you're a real estate agent.
Yes.
And
and a mortgage loan originator. So as a real estate agent, I help people buy and sell homes, obviously.
Right.
But a mortgage loan originator, what we do is we help people get the loans for the residential and commercial properties.
Gotcha.
So I help you qualify, and like you were saying, people who don't even know if they qualify, I can help them through that process.
Gotcha. Now, and how long have you been doing that?
So I've been doing real estate for like 15 years.
Really?
And then the loan side of it is actually new. I just started that this year.
Okay. Now, did you do that because you knew it would give you more of an advantage to,
So I did that
like,
because
help your clients, like, in more ways than one, or?
Yes, definitely. That for sure. Also because I have my master's degree. So I have an MBA, so a master's degree focused on finance.
Okay.
So I understand finance, understand money a lot better than most real estate agents and most people in general.
Right.
So I really wanted to put that to use.
Right.
And my overall goal is to eventually own a brokerage where I have real estate agents and loan officers working for me.
Okay.
So that is a progression. So that's the next step, was to get that license.
Definitely.
And then I'm studying for the broker's exam, and I'll take that at the end of this year. So that way, next year or a couple of years from now, whenever I want, I'm in the position to start my own brokerage and turn my team into a company. Because right now I have a team, but turn the team into a company.
That's amazing, because that's,
Thank
you.
you.
that was kind of my next thing, and I was going to ask you. So, obviously, you were going to school for finance.
Correct. Yeah, business and finance.
Was that your plan, like, to get into real estate and the mortgage business, or did you have like a? So that's always just been your plan.
Since I was a kid.
That's amazing. I mean, I'm not hating on it or anything. I just, I was just wondering if that was always what you wanted to do.
Oh no, for sure. Yeah, I was like a dork when I was a kid. I used to make my parents take me to open houses on the weekends. Like, they don't even really do that anymore, but they used to have like these big model homes in these gated communities where you could just go. Like, they just have like on Porter Ranch and stuff like that. They used to have it in LA. It's like we had a few in Encino. There was a lot actually in LA when we were younger.
Right.
So I'd make my parents take me there like every weekend to see the same house over and over again.
They're like, you've seen this house like 17 times. What are you You're like, but it's so great. So your parents do the same thing?
No, my parents actually work in entertainment. So I grew up in entertainment, grew up around like movie sets and stuff like that, TV shows. So I grew up in that environment, and I still like kind of dabble in the entertainment world a little bit, produce things with my mom. I act here and there.
I do it all, no big deal.
Yeah, exactly. My goal is to be a mogul. So I don't think I think people sell themselves short when they say they have to do one thing or pigeonhole themselves into one thing and say, I am this.
I absolutely agree.
No, I like Jay-Z's line, I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman.
Exactly. I mean, Jay-Z, we all know that's my man. So we won't even go there. That is my all-time everything.
Yes.
So what's the best part of your job?
The best part of my job, honestly, is helping people. Because I think you can make a lot of money doing a lot of things.
Right.
I'm a people person. I love people. I love talking to people. I'm interested in their stories. And I've always been the person that wants to help, either giving advice or even if I could help them financially, any kind of way I can help someone, I'm down to do it. Because I think each one should teach one and each one should pay it forward. So I've been helped tremendously in my life.
Yeah.
So I think that when you're in a position to help others, you should do it. So that's what I love about my job more than anything, on both sides of it. As a real estate agent, I'm helping you find a property, either sell your property and find a property. As a loan officer, helping you qualify, get a loan. Sometimes a loan you didn't even think you could get.
Yeah.
So that's really rewarding.
Yeah, I would think so too. Now, do you think that your profession is harder for you being a black male, or have you seen it from the outside where you think, like, because obviously you are successful, but maybe you haven't really noticed that that's because you are successful, you haven't really noticed that, like, there's, like, a difficulty there. Yeah. But have you ever noticed or been in a situation where you think, like, okay, well, is it because I'm black?
I would say, honestly, yes, but not just real estate. I think everything outside of sports and entertainment is actually harder if you're an African-American male.
Definitely.
It just is. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to get an MBA, because I felt like a bachelor's degree wasn't enough. I feel like I needed more tools in my bag. I have to have more to offer. You have to have more to bring to the table.
So, sometimes.
I feel like you start off in kind of a disadvantaged way a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? It's not anything that's done on purpose, but it's just pre-programming that's subconscious, that's just in the back of most people's minds. So you have to rewrite that narrative and you have to change that story.
And that's obviously my goal in doing all of this. So
yes.
I hate that narrative personally, especially if I were to end up having a mixed race child that has a darkened complexion, not that I would love my child any different or anything. I just, I can't imagine, like, I have some really strong female black friends, and they're raising, you know, obviously black males, and they have, I'm just like, how do you, it's just not, tough. And that's, I mean, I have, obviously, like you, I want to help people, but I want to change this whole narrative. I'm just not 100%. Here for it. So, 100%. And especially with my privilege being white, I feel like I'm not obligated to do it, but because I feel a certain type of way about it, that it's like a purpose that I have. So I just want, you know, so that's obviously how it is. Yes. Has anybody not wanted or refused to work with you?
With regards to a client or a job?
Yeah, just anything, like a client. Because in real estate, you kind of pick your real estate agent. Am I wrong?
You do, yeah.
So, like, if I was looking for a house, my first step would be to find a real estate agent that has all those connections, correct?
Well, or actually, the first step would be to get pre-approved for your loan.
I know that, but I mean, like, if I'm reaching out to somebody to help me, so I don't know I need to get pre-approved. So, honestly, the person on my radar, I only know 2 people, and the other person I know only really works in commercial. So, I would go straight to you, as I already have. Yeah. So, if I go straight to you, you say, okay, well, we need to get you pre-approved. Right. Okay, great. I'll go through that process. But do you ever have clients, like, assigned to you where they come into the team or the firm or whatever it is, because I'm not versed in this. Yeah. And then they're like, oh, well, we have Joseph that can help you out. And they're like, well, do you have any other real estate agents?
No, I mean, it's never happened like that. No. I have gone on listing appointments where I haven't got the listing. That's happened. I couldn't say for sure, like, oh, it's because I'm a black man. Right? You don't really know. Yeah. Right? It's so hard to say. And a lot of factors go to play when you're going for a listing. So the difference between working with a buyer is the buyer doesn't pay your commission. The sellers actually pay the commission. Right. So a lot of people don't even realize that or think about that. So when you're working with a buyer, it's a little less pressure on the client, right? Because they don't feel like their money's on the line, right? They're going to buy a house, obviously, and the person's going to help them get the best deal. Right. But they're not actually paying them for a service. Right. When you have a listing, you actually are paying that agent for a service. Gotcha. So you're feeling like that's a person who, like, works for you or works with you is, like, a better way to really put it, honestly. Yeah. But they feel like they work for you. Yeah. But at the end of the day, the real estate agent doesn't get paid if the deal doesn't close. Right. So it's not really like they're working for you. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So it's like kind of this weird kind of gray area. And sometimes you have to explain that to your clients. Yeah. But ultimately, I have lost some listings, but I couldn't say for sure it was because I was black. Yeah. I haven't had anything like that happen. I did have a situation that legally I can't disclose exactly what happened because I ended up suing over wrongful termination. Okay. Yeah. So that was definitely tied to race for sure. Right. 100%. Yeah, 100%. There was a situation where I was managing this property and there was a higher eviction rate than the owner would have liked. And then ultimately I had this conversation with the owner and was explaining that it's just kind of the neighborhood. Didn't want to hear that and basically alluded to the fact that it be, yeah. Not because I'm black, but because most of the people that were getting evicted were black. So he said, maybe what you should do is not rely on the computer and the answer you get from the computer. You should just make your judgment based on your feeling of that person. So if the computer approves them and you get a bad feeling, just reject them. Or if they don't look like they're the right fit for the building, just reject their application.
What the hell?
And this was 2 years ago.
That's insane to me. Like, yeah. I mean, so, I know it's probably really difficult having a building and, like, having, the eviction stuff going on. But, like, really?
Yeah, this was 2018. So I guess a little over 2 years ago now. So 2018, yeah.
We are in 2021, people. Like, We really need to get this shit together because I
called him out on it, and we were on a conference call with other people, and I called him out on it right on the spot and told him that's discrimination.
It absolutely
that's illegal,
is.
And that's something I'm not willing to do.
Definitely not.
I got fired the next day.
Well, now we know why you got fired, because you didn't want to discriminate. And, hi, morals, but, Okay, so buying a house. I'm not going to talk about selling a house. If you want to throw stuff in there, that's great.
Yeah.
But I'm going to talk about mostly buying a house.
Yeah, that's
fine. When I think I want to buy a house, my first step is, well, my credit score is not that great. It's not in the garbage, but it's not great.
Yeah.
And for a couple years, I worked for a bank, and they did home loans. Mm-hmm. So when I did that, I was processing the paperwork and before it went to underwriting and all that stuff. So I would see this stuff, and a lot of these credit scores are in the tank, and I never understood how these people ended up buying houses. And then I realized, okay, it's like a debt-to-income ratio, and there's all these other factors, but I'm trying to, is there a prime credit score for a different type of loan? Because I know we kind of briefly touched on that. So what's the deal with a credit score when it comes to, buying a house?
Yeah. So that's an excellent question. And a lot of people think they have to have really great credit to buy a house. That's not the case. A lot of people think they have to come to the table with a really big down payment, 20%. It's not always the case.
Right.
There's so many different factors, so many different ways to go about getting your loan. Now, if you go to Chase or you go to Wells Fargo, these institutional lenders, they have a box that's about that big.
I was going to say, I keep hearing that that's a terrible idea.
Oh, man. Unless you're a traditional W-2, like a doctor, a nurse, something like that, traditional W-2, very regular hours, great credit, you're not going to fit in that box.
Right.
But that doesn't mean you can't get a house. That means you can't get the loan from Wells Fargo or Chase.
From that bank,
right?
Yeah.
But that's where we come into play, mortgage brokers. So we work everything outside of that.
Yeah.
So we get to color all outside the lines.
Right.
So it's not like back in 2008 where there's subprime loans and we're giving loans to your dog. That's not the case.
We're not doing the fraud stuff all over, but exactly. But we are helping. Yeah. So
we are helping people, exactly. And to be honest, it wasn't even mortgage brokers alone that were doing that. It was mostly big banks, and including, if you watch the news, Wells Fargo. I can talk about that. I mean, everybody knows Wells Fargo was literally assigning loans to people who never had a loan.
That's crazy.
I had a Wells Fargo account. I didn't even buy a house through them, but I got a $1,000 check in the mail. I was like, what? It was some kind of lawsuit that happened. Apparently they did something to me that I didn't realize.
Big, so I have questions.
Yeah.
But I did get one.
They did something to me. Yeah. I don't know what happened. And I think part of it might have been a little money I had in the account.
That explains it.
It was a college account that I had. Yeah, from 2005.
Yeah, so you never know. Yeah.
I've used Wells Fargo since 2006.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know what happened to that account.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, that's a whole nother story. But so for getting a loan, that little box, that's institutional. That's really hard to fit in.
Right.
But it is very possible to get a loan if you have bad credit, for sure. You can do like FHA loan if your credit's bad. If you have really good income and bad credit, believe it or not, a lot of celebrities and stars, they have terrible credit, but they're buying mansions. So what it's called, it's a non-QM loan. So a QM loan is like the box. Non-QM is everything outside the box.
Right.
So we can do loans off of bank statements.
Okay.
So it's not like stated income where you just say, I make $1 million. I say, great, here's the loan.
But we do have some proof that you're making this money.
Exactly. So it's bank statements. So the bank statement loans are drilled in pretty deep.
Right.
But it's the only thing that we require from you. So if you have really great income, I can just do a bank statement loan. I'll take 12 months of your bank statements. What I have to do is I have to source all your deposits, and then I have to source where that money goes.
Right.
But that's part of the underwriting process. Mm-hmm. That's something that we would do on our side with your assistance.
Right.
But essentially, I can get you a loan with just your bank statements. So your credit score could be 400, but if you make really good money, I can still get you a loan that isn't FHA.
So now you say that, but let's say I come to you and you're like, I can get you a loan. But then you look at my credit, and I get that there's a credit score, but I also know that there's a debt-to-income ratio. And I know you're not an underwriter, but...
Yeah, that's very important.
But if I have all this debt, so like I have a $25,000 car that I'm still paying off, or I have student loans.
Yeah.
What things are like factored into there? Do they take out what your monthly payment would be and then decide what you can afford, or?
Yeah, the way we do it is we take your overall income, gross, not after tax, pre-tax, right?
Yeah.
So it's your gross income, not your net. We look at your gross income, multiply that by 46, right? 46%. That's what we want to figure out. 46%. We take that number, and then we just subtract out all of your monthly expenses. Mm-hmm. So we subtract out your car, we subtract out your credit cards, subtract out your student loans, whatever other expenses you might have if you have another RV or something like that.
Right,
or
whatever else.
Jet ski, whatever you have. We're going to deduct all those. Whatever's left, that's how much your mortgage can be. Okay. So the debt-to-income ratio is more important than the credit.
Right.
You can have amazing credit, but if you don't have income, there's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
You got amazing
if you're already
credit,
spending it every month, like, what are you going to do?
Exactly. You can have amazing credit, live in a beautiful house, have a high interest rate, want to refinance into a lower interest rate, which a lot of people want to do right now because interest rates are historically low.
But you can if you still have all that
income,
debt.
There's nothing I can do.
Right.
So a lot of people, they got into a really nice house in LA. You know, the prices are high. So you're talking about like a $5 million loan.
Right.
But they're at like a 7 or 8%. So they want to lower it down to like a 3 because I can get you down to 3%, which is nuts.
Yeah.
On a jumbo loan.
That is insane.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
I can get you down to 3, but if you don't have income, I can't get that loan done for you.
If
your income has dropped significantly and it doesn't even match and you're spending most of your money on your mortgage, I can't refinance your house. So the debt to income ratio is really important. But if you just do that simple calculation, like I just told you, you can find out exactly how much you can afford. Yeah,
because you have to obviously be able to prove that you can pay your mortgage, or else why am I giving this to you?
Right.
Like, I'm not going to give you something if you can't pay for it. So.
But to that point, if you're paying your rent, most landlords want to see you making 3 times the rent.
Yes.
So it's essentially the same conversion. It's basically the same.
Okay.
But like we were saying before, it's cheaper if we go like for like. Mm-hmm. It's cheaper to own your own place than it is to rent.
Yes.
It's way cheaper to own it because you have to think about it. Your landlord is operating a business.
Right.
So they're making a profit over you.
Right.
And they're also going to pay for anything that goes wrong in the apartment. They have to have a little reserve. Mm-hmm. So if the sink starts leaking, what if the upstairs neighbor's plumbing busts or the AC goes out or whatever the case is. They always have to have a reserve and they need to make a profit.
Right.
Right? So you think about that, you could be banking all that money. And that's something that most
take
people
all that out.
Yeah, that's something most people don't think about.
Yeah.
When you own a property, you're spending money for sure. It's not like you're not spending money where you live, but you're banking all that money.
Yeah.
You're writing off the interest. The interest is a tax deductible.
Right.
So you're writing off the interest. The principal, you're keeping because you can sell that house whenever you want. You can refi and pull cash out whenever you want. You're banking that money. You're banking every payment. But when you actually rent, you're setting that money on fire every month.
Right.
You're paying $2,000, $1,500, $3,000, $5,000.
Whatever it is.
You're setting it on fire every single month. I have a client that I'm working with right now. She makes really good money. She is doing really well for herself. Mm-hmm. So we were looking to rent a condo for $6,500 per month. Right, so I'm telling you, it's like basically $80,000.
That's a ridiculous amount, by the way, because I'm not even close to that. But so great, good for her. But I digress.
Right. So she's a first-time home buyer as well, right? So she's never bought a home, but I convinced her that she needs to really buy a home. You don't need
instead of trying to help her rent,
Right, because she is a business owner, so she can write off her part of her rent because she works from home.
Absolutely.
So all that square footage that she uses for her business, she can write off as rent.
She can still do that from her house.
She can still do that from her house, and she can write off the interest, and she banks all the principal.
That's crazy.
So I told her, essentially, in a way, you're taking your money and setting $80,000 on fire every single year. If I put you in this rental, you can do it. Because she also is thinking, well, she has to put a down payment, and that's taking money from the market, right? So if she's buying something, it's going to be somewhere between 1.5 and 2 million. She's going to have to come to the table with a down payment. And she's like, well, if I do that, I could keep it in the stock market, and you're making money. You're making 15, 20%. She made 30% last year. So I can't be mad at the idea of wanting to keep on growing money.
Right.
But when you think about the actual numbers, like the 30% that you're making is less than the 80% you're setting on fire every month.
Yeah.
Right? So it's always better to own your property, always. And even if it's something that isn't glamorous or something that's not your dream home, just buy a property.
So you can just start there. So because all that money that, you know, you save between what the rent payment would be and what your actual mortgage payment would be, you can, you know, you're going to go and sell that one and then, you know, move to the next one or whatever.
Exactly.
Because even if, because I'm hoping that this also really encourages, like, the younger generations. Like, I know that the generation behind us and the one behind that, so the younger 20s, I know that, or I feel like I don't actually know, that they have more of an insight to what they can do. So stuff like this, especially if they have the background for it, or the parents to, like, teach them these things.
Yeah.
But so hopefully with this kind of stuff, just putting this information out there and, like, keep going, because I've seen it, like, people put it on their TikToks and their reels on Instagram, and I'm just like, and you'll see it, it'll be these short clips, but, like, I've learned, like, these little things at a time, like the difference between, like, why you don't want to go to a big time bank for a loan and why, you know. So I'm hoping that all this information that gets out there is going to, you know, just keep going down the line so that everybody can do that, because it's a huge investment.
It is. And, you know, I really wish people understood how money worked, because that's something they don't teach you in school. No. And they really should.
They should have taught us that in life skills, and I don't know why they didn't. But.
Yeah, I mean, no diss to, like, science teachers or things like that, but I feel like science didn't help me in my life. Maybe if I was a doctor, I would have been like, oh yeah, science exposed me to this or whatever. My point is, I think we definitely need to make financial literacy part of the conversation.
Definitely.
Teaching generational wealth should be part of the conversation, right? There's no reason it shouldn't be. If we can learn how to finger paint, we can learn what I just basically taught you guys really quick about how to qualify for a mortgage.
Right.
And even just the idea of home ownership, people operate their homes as liabilities instead of assets. Right? So by definition, an asset pays you money. A liability costs you money.
Right.
Most people, they're taught, pay off your mortgage, right? Buy a house and pay off the mortgage. No, that's wrong. That's, like, backwards. You don't want to do that. Essentially, you want to leverage debt. So debt isn't a bad word. Debt is a good word. Not paying your payments is a bad word.
There's healthy debt.
There's healthy debt, exactly. Going out and getting a Range Rover when, you know, you work at McDonald's isn't smart debt, right?
You're right.
But buying a duplex in Texas when you work at McDonald's is very smart.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And you can do that.
Yeah.
You can literally work at McDonald's, buy a duplex in Texas today.
Yeah.
With, like, literally no money down. 3%.
And I just
3% of $100,000. Okay? So, like, you can save $3,000. Anyone could save $3,000. You could just not eat Starbucks for, like, 6 months and you have $3,000. You know, like, anyone can do it.
Yeah.
Like, property ownership is not this, like, pie in the sky thing. It's not this when I make it to the top of the hill thing, when my career's set thing. Anyone can own property.
And I think that's the disconnect, because I was raised by my grandparents, but as I got into the phase of graduating high school and figuring out college, and I wish that I would have, because I was the first person to go to college. Like, my grandparents didn't even go to college. So I had to figure that out on my own, like, how to, you know, and I didn't go straight to college. I went to community college, and then, you know, I was in college, I'm not even gonna lie, for like 10 years. Because I had my daughter between all that. So eventually I persisted, and I was like, I'm going to get this bachelor's degree. And I did. That's now I'm questioning, do I need a master's? But there's all these other things that I wish that my parents would have known, or at least been able to teach me. School wasn't going to teach me, like financial literacy. Like, my grandma worked for a bank, but I wasn't. I mean, I was old enough to learn, okay, save your money and be smart with it and things like that, but I wasn't. She got sick before I was old enough to be like, okay, so here's what you're going to do when you buy a house, or this is how we're going to do this money so that you can pay for college, or because she would have been great at helping me with that and being able to teach me that, but my parents, no way. Yeah.
And same thing for me. I went to college, I played basketball, but I didn't finish in my normal 4 years. Then I stopped and I got into real estate. I'm young and I'm making 6 figures, so I said, I don't need school. So I didn't go back. Then eventually I did go back and got my BA online. And then I went and got my MBA online as well. And this is all recent. I graduated last year with my master's, and then 2 years before that, in 2018, with my BA. Thank you.
Congratulations. And my motto, like I tell everybody, it's never too late.
It's never too late. It's never too late. And the things that I learned in that MBA program, everyone should know. Like,
Right.
it shouldn't just be for people that are interested in business. Everybody should understand how to put together a business plan. Everybody should understand profit and loss statement. These things that everyone should understand. And even just if we're talking about home ownership and how to transition generational wealth, only the wealthy people understand how to really operate their house as an asset, like I was just telling you.
Yeah.
Because essentially every 10 years, you should do a cash out refi and buy an investment property. That's how you operate your house, right? So instead of paying your house off.
And that's insane because I didn't even think about that. But that is genius.
Right? So this is how you do it. I mean, I'll make it super simple so that way even like the beginners who don't have an MBA can really understand.
Right.
If you buy a house, you pay down that principal for 10 years. You'll have enough equity to do a cash out refinance.
Right.
Usually into a lower interest rate. And take that cash out, buy an investment property, put a renter in it, right? Your renter is now going to start paying down that principal every month. Right. Every single month, they're going to pay down that principal. So 10 years later, you can take the money from this and turn that into another property as well. And you're going to do the same thing on your primary, right? So now you have 4 properties, 3 investment properties.
Right.
And we're just 20 years down the road. So then when you want to retire, you actually have cash flowing assets.
Right.
When you want to pass something on to the next generation, they have cash flowing assets that they can then take and do cash out refis again, and every 1 turns to 2, right? So your 4 passes down and becomes 8 immediately.
That's crazy.
Then 8 becomes 16. 16 becomes 32.
But even if you don't go that far, if you do 2 to 4 and 4 to 8, and like you're like, oh well, I have 2 kids, so you get 4 and you get 4. Like even if you do that, like you're like setting up and
100%.
And I went through so many struggles, and I am so grateful for the people that I had in my life. But let me tell you, I don't want my daughter, or if should I have any other kids, to have to even go through any of that.
Yeah,
like
100%.
I understand the stigma of like, oh, daddy got it for me, but like honestly, I don't care. Like you're gonna have to live with that, because I would rather you have that than me worry about you not being okay. And
100%.
and even if I'm giving you something, I'm not just going to give it to you. Like, we're going to sit down and educate you on how I got this and how I got there. So, I mean, that's amazing. I didn't even think about that.
If I could leave you guys with anything today, it would just be cash flow.
Cash flow.
Right?
I mean,
because
hey.
everyone is concerned with how much money they're earning.
Right.
I don't care how much money I'm earning. I care how much money I'm cash flowing.
Right.
Because if you're earning it, you're trading your time for money. You're trading your skills, your job, whatever you're doing, you're trading your time for money.
Right.
Cash flowing is I can take a year off and be richer at the end of that year than I was at the beginning.
Because I'll still have all that cash flowing in.
Cash flow, passive income. And it's not anything hard. What I just told you is very simple. And you don't even have to run those properties yourself. You hire a property management company. A property management company will take 3% of the rental of each unit, right?
Right.
So you don't even pay them up front out of pocket. They manage the property for you. They'll set up the plumbers, the gardeners. If somebody moves out, they'll fill it again. You don't have to be a property manager to own a portfolio of real estate.
Right.
You hire a property management company that takes 3% of the rental amount. And you just build that into the rent. So you're still cash flowing literally every single month.
Yeah.
There's no reason people don't do it. It's just that people aren't taught to do it. People are told that
they don't know.
They're not really told and explained money in the right way.
Right.
And I explain home ownership in the right way. The really wealthy people get it and they understand the game, and they're just not really sharing the knowledge because they get it and they're like, well, I mean, sorry, it's a little nappy, but they get it and they are looking out for them and theirs, and people that they know. Some people are, like I told you, really giving. That's how I ended up learning a lot of the information that I have now, because I was able to talk to people who could pour knowledge into me, and now I just want to do that to others because it's easy. Wealth is easy. The game is actually very easy and basic.
You just have to know how to play.
You just have to know how to play.
And that's the thing. I feel like
you just have to know how to play.
This scarcity situation, everybody thinks there's not enough to go around. And let me tell you, I've been reading so many books where it's like, there's plenty for everybody. I promise you there's plenty for everybody.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So, like, to not share that knowledge to me is like, I'm just like, but why? Like, you not sharing with me is not going to make you more money.
Yeah.
If it did, I would understand. And it's not like I'm coming for your money. I'm going to go find my own.
Exactly.
So I'm really appreciative that you want to share this, because it's so difficult to have people.
It's my pleasure. Yeah, that scarcity is the probably biggest lie of all time.
Right.
Like, there literally is no scarcity.
The
difference is that I think the people that have the most are afraid of losing it. So they even develop a scarcity mentality.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And the people that don't have it have not had it for so long that they're just used to lack. And when you become used to lack, you expect more lack.
Right.
Right? And then, unfortunately, a lot of people don't want to do the work to help themselves because it's tough.
Yeah.
You know, it is hard. I'm not going to say that it's easy to grow because you have to go through like the part where you look in the mirror and say, okay, everything that I have in my life is because of me. That's where the power comes, and that's when you can change it. When you look in the mirror and say, you know what, this job that I hate, it's because I took the job. Like, I'm not a slave.
Here.
Like, they're not holding a gun at my head.
Right. Like
I can do something different.
Yeah.
It's never too late. It doesn't matter how old you are. You can start now, and you can do something different.
Yeah.
But most people, they, just want to blame somebody else. I'm giving this free game in this podcast, but some people will be like, oh, I'm not going to watch that. I'd rather watch, reruns of The Office or something.
Whatever.
Like,
I'm not hating on you, but watch it after you watch this. Like,
right. I like The Office too.
There's a good balance. Like, there's a great balance. Like, you can find, yeah, there's another thing that, like I said, I've been reading a lot of books, but it's just, there's no scarcity.
No.
I can't.
There's more than enough. I
can't stress that enough.
There's more than enough.
And yeah, for you to not share your knowledge or support other people in like their journey. If the person's terrible, I'm not going to want to help you. I understand that. Like, if you're a terrible person, you're doing crappy things to people, like, I'm not saying you shouldn't be helped, but you need to help yourself and figure out your life before you do that. But, at the same token, like, just... We got to lift we got to come to this level playing field no matter what we look like, no matter how much money we make, because really, like, there's homeless people and a lot of the times it's for lack of education. Like, I don't know how. I don't know that I have these resources or like I can go here and they'll help me. And
the thing that I think is going to make a huge difference is podcasts like this, is people actually talking about it. Because this is free. This is on the internet for everyone. Right. Now you just have to go look for it. YouTube, the internet changed everything.
It did.
Before, you had to get an MBA to get the knowledge I have. Now, you can pick up a lot of the jewels that I learned getting a master's degree just right here.
Yeah.
Right? You have to have a career in real estate or know somebody in real estate to understand what I just told you. Now, you don't have to ever meet me, but I just gave you the game. Here
you go. Here.
Right? So, things will change, and technology and platforms like this will be part of that change.
Yeah.
100%.
And at least even if you don't get everything that you want to know, you have like a starting point and you can go in and type in these questions or be like, okay, well, who else is going to, help me, whatever. So there's a starting point, if anything.
Yeah.
So. And
just to the point of no scarcity, on our team, I'm on one of the largest real estate teams in the country. So not to brag or anything, but last year our team sold $727 million in real estate. So, yeah, like, there's no scarcity. There's no lack.
Yeah,
like there's people buying
like, that's mine. Like,
yeah, there's people buying these $10 and $20 million homes like it's nothing.
That's
like there's a sea of them. Like,
I don't even want one. Like, I live in LA. If I can have an $800,000 house, I will be very happy.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if you're in LA, if you're driving Sunset, if you're cruising Sunset to go to a lounge or something, just look up at the hill and see all those twinkling lights. Each twinkle represents like a $20 million house for the most part. I mean, they have some smaller crazy. 5 ones, but it's pretty wild. Yeah. So there's no limit. There's no limit. Yeah. And that's something that I think people don't even really fully understand either. They want to save. They say, I'm saving, cut the expenses, right? No, just make more, just cash flow. That's what it is. Because you can only reduce your expenses to zero, right? We can all agree on that. Everybody can agree on that. You can only reduce
I'm going to have nothing on the street, but
zero,
yes.
Right? Exactly. You can only go so far. You have to live. There has to be some expenses. You can only go down so far.
Yeah.
But if you got creative and you hustled, how high can you go up? Infinite, right? You can make Jeff Bezos money, Elon Musk money. Like, these people are just like us, right?
Or they were before all this other BS happened, but yes.
But I mean, honestly, the difference is just like mindset. It's the decisions that they made. It's the decisions that they made and the actions that they took. Anyone can do anything. Anyone can do anything. Doesn't matter where you're from. Doesn't matter your background. Doesn't matter anything. If you're in America, if you're here, you can do it. You can do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, in other countries, they have caste systems, right?
Yeah.
So it's tough.
That's rough.
If you're born poor, you die poor. Here, if you just have the work ethic, you can do it. And there's like I said, educational platforms like this, where you can find the knowledge. You don't even have to go to school. You don't have to. I mean, depending on the job you want. If you want to be a doctor, obviously you have to go to school.
Yeah, please do.
Right? Don't operate on me if you just watched a couple YouTube videos. Like, I'm not comfortable with that.
Good for that, but yeah.
But anything else, I mean, like, literally, you can be successful, have whatever you want. Anything is possible, literally.
Yeah. The other mindset that I think people that I read recently that really hit me was that I have a job, but I'm doing all these other things.
Yeah.
But that's because I don't have the cash flow coming in, but that's to create the cash flow based off of, all this other stuff or until I can. You don't necessarily have to give up your 9-to-5 job or whatever job you have just to do something else. You just have to be willing to find the time and the places to do these other things. Because my first fear was that, I have a daughter, I have to have this job. Like, how am I going to support us?
Right.
And that led me for a really long time to believe that I couldn't do these other things. And I'm like, well, why can't I have that job and still do this? Like, I have days off. I have an hour or two when I get home, or I have my breaks and my lunch. And, I mean, as unfortunate as it is to, like, have to do that, if you're not willing to do that while you're still doing something else, it's kind of one or the other.
Yeah.
And I'm not in that mindset where I can go full out with something that I don't know or that isn't bringing me consistent income.
Yeah.
That doesn't sit well in my head. Some people can just drop it and just go straight for it. Like, I'm opening my business, I'm going to have income next month. Like, that's fine. I mean, great, good for them. But some people don't have that mindset. And so for so long, I learned that the opposite of me working and doing this was not the right mindset. But I think that's a serious misconception. So even if you are doing this 9-to-5 and, let's say you love your job, but you don't have enough income and you still want to bring in all those cash flow options, you can still do that while you're doing your other job.
100%.
And I think people need to know that.
100%. People ask me all the time, like, how do I do so many things? Like I told you, I produce projects for my mom. I do acting. I'm real estate. I do mortgage loan originating. Right. I own another business where we sell goods online. Yeah. So people don't really get how you can do everything. But that's why I was telling you, like, people just get pigeonholed in an idea of, like, I'm this one person. You don't have to be that. And it's about leveraging the efforts of others. I have partners in literally everything I do. Not employees, partners. So I'm not paying people.
Collaboration over competition is key to that. I'm telling you.
100%.
People don't.
Like, the most successful people didn't get there alone. It's about finding that core group that's like-minded, wants to go in that same direction as you, and just go there together.
Definitely.
If you want to go far, you have to go there with somebody else. The most successful people didn't get there alone.
No, definitely not.
So everything I do, I have other people I work on it with.
Yeah.
You leverage the efforts of those other people.
Yeah.
And that's the best way to, in my opinion, become successful. And then even if you, like I said, you want to keep that 9-to-5 job, but maybe you want to start a second business or start your own business. You have a great job, and then you want to open up whatever business it is, a beauty shop. It doesn't matter, right? Whatever business X is.
Yeah.
You don't have to quit your job, like you were saying, until the income that you're receiving from the second business makes sense to quit your job,
and
right?
That's my goal.
So you can just pay someone, like let's say you earn $20 an hour. If you're a $20 an hour earner, that's your base, right? If you want to start a business and you can hire somebody for minimum wage in your state, if it's $10, $15, whatever that is, then obviously you shouldn't do that job because you shouldn't give up your 20 for 10, right? But if you could pay somebody the 10, right, now you can actually start that business. So hire somebody, even if it's minimum wage, hire somebody. Or if you can 1099 somebody, it depends on your own industry, right? Yeah. If you can 1099 somebody, or you can partner with somebody. Partner is free. 1099, you have to pay them on a commission basis. Right. Or if you can afford an employee at minimum wage and that makes sense for your business structure, it's all about putting that business plan together. Like I was saying, like people should know how to do a business plan and understand how to structure their company. Yeah. So it's totally possible to keep your job and start another business, or 2 or 3 or 4. Yeah. Right? All about leveraging the efforts of others.
Definitely.
The only limitation we have is the limitations we put on ourselves. Yeah. That's it.
All right. So getting back to home buying. So down payment amounts. Because I think that for me, and I could go to Texas and buy a house tomorrow.
Yeah.
I live in LA.
Right.
It's not quite as realistic. I mean, I think that's the mindset that I have because of the down payment.
Okay. So what I would say to people in LA, because LA is expensive, like you just said. Texas is in. Just because you live in LA doesn't mean you can't buy a property in Texas, right? The first property you buy, why not Texas? Why not Chicago?
Well, I mean, technically I want to live there. That's like, I mean, my first one.
We'll get there,
do you know what I'm saying?
100%. So what I want to say is just to put a few steps between you and that first goal of having that house, right? In LA. Because LA is a really expensive place.
Yes.
LA, New York, even Miami, San Francisco, these are really expensive cities for people that want to buy their first home and don't have huge, massive incomes. But you can still buy that investment property somewhere else, which will bring you a cash flowing asset, which will make you no longer a first time buyer, which will be able to pay down your principal, which then you have a relationship with the bank, which you can actually do a cash out refinance, keep that property, do a little value add.
And then buy an LA house. Look at this, man. So, okay, let's say I skip all that and I'm greedy and I want to buy a house in LA because I'm not going to deal with that other stuff. Like, that's where I want to start.
Okay.
So, what should I expect in terms of, like, realistic down payment amounts?
In LA,
I guess
a realistic down payment amount is going to be like 3.5. Is going to be the lowest. That's like the absolute lowest.
Okay.
And that's a harder loan to do.
Right.
5% is a little more realistic. That's still a slightly harder loan to do because you have to think about the offer that you're writing. So it's very competitive. Especially in LA right now, anything like under $1 million in a good neighborhood is getting multiple offers and selling for over ask.
Right.
Even I had a property in Inglewood. I ended up representing the buyer and the seller. We ended up selling that property with 10 offers in 7 days at 15% over ask. That's just where the market's at.
Right.
Right? So it is hard when you have a lower down payment to compete with a higher down payment offer because it seems to the Mr. Home Seller that you have less skin in the game.
Gotcha.
So your offer doesn't seem as appealing. So it's harder to win those offers. Not impossible to get the deal done because if you have an agent that's hungry, what that agent will do is, let's say, I want this bedroom count, I want this square footage, and I want this neighborhood. If it's not on market, that doesn't mean that it's not for sale, right? So if your agent is aggressive and he knows exactly what you want, he can reach out to those homeowners directly and represent the buyer and the seller.
Gotcha.
So I've done that before for clients.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's literally just the agent taking it upon themselves to find that property that's off market and reaching out to those homeowners directly. If they have the relationship, then great, it's even easier.
Right.
But that's how you can get the 3.5 or the 5% deal.
Yeah.
It's a little harder, like I was saying, but it still can exist.
Right.
You just have to find that agent, that partner that's willing to work with you and put in that time. But those are the lowest down payment amounts you're really going to see. But there is a credit that is probably going to come either at the end of this year or next year.
I was
Moneybag Joe. Moneybag Joe is coming through.
I'm getting there. Trust me, I'm getting there.
You want to wait for that?
That's what I'm waiting for. Let me tell you, I'm like, we might want to wait on this. So
Moneybag Joe.
Before I get to that, though, because that's going to add to this.
Yeah.
What first-time homebuyer benefits are there besides? A lot of people don't know about taxes, but I know there's a tax credit for a first-time homebuyer. And then every year after that, like he said, you get credit based on the interest that you pay towards your house. But when it comes to being a first-time homebuyer, what can I expect? Are there any benefits? I know we talked a lot about hurdles, like how it's a little difficult because you don't have like a relationship and this, that, and the other. But what are the benefits other than a tax credit? Are there any?
Oh man, like the benefits of home ownership, you mean?
Yeah, if I have never bought a house, so I'm a first time home buyer.
Yeah.
I know like after a certain amount of years you're considered a first time home buyer all over again, but I'm not gonna go there. So like let's say I've literally never bought a house. What benefits do I foresee that are gonna work in my favor when I'm looking to buy a house?
Got it. So the benefit for a home buyer, I mean, essentially is that you're not throwing your money away on rent. That's like the biggest thing. You have to live somewhere, so you're not throwing money away on rent. And you actually are creating a vehicle that can be an asset. A lot of people, I would say, unfortunately, honestly, most people don't operate their homes as assets and do what I just said about like doing a cash out refi every 10 years. Most people don't do that. They're afraid of that idea, and they just want to pay off their mortgage because that's what they've been told. Okay. But that is a huge benefit, because when you become a home buyer, now you're a homeowner and you have an asset that you can start cash flowing off of. It will increase your credit score when you make on-time payments.
Right.
And I would actually recommend that most people buy their first property as a duplex, because you can do an owner-occ. Oh, I'm sorry. That's owner occupied.
Yes.
So you caught it.
I know certain things like SFH and the small things like that, but a lot of people don't.
So that's why I was like, wait, let me talk to like the beginners out there that don't know. So you can be an owner occupied property where you live on site in 1 to 4 units, and it's still considered a residential loan, right? So like that's what I would recommend for everyone, even if you were going to say start working in Texas. Because you're a business owner.
I think somebody's trying to tell me something.
I just spitball and floating ideas out there. I don't know. I'm just, But I would always recommend that it's a multi-unit property.
Right.
Because like I said, I believe cash flow is king. I don't worry about how much money I earn. I worry about how much I cash flow. Yeah. My earnings are great, but the cash flow is more important.
Right.
Because what if I want to stop working? What if I need to stop working? You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
That cash flow is king. And that's how wealth has really grown and how wealth has really transitioned. It's through cash flow. So if you have that opportunity to buy a property that's not in your dream area, like most people want to be in somewhere that's, pretty and perfect and the birds are chirping. Maybe just find
picket fence, 2.5 children.
Right. You can get there, and you will get there. Trust me, you'll get to that goal.
I promise I'll get you there.
I promise you'll get there. But let's do these other steps first to make this goal more attainable, more realistic, and more comfortable, right? So if you just find a duplex or a 1 to 4 unit property in an area where there's jobs, metropolitan urban area where the prices are going to be lower, but there's jobs nearby, there's public transit nearby, because you have to think about the people that want to work near those urban areas and near downtown or something like that, for example, right? There's lots of duplexes and 1 to 4 unit buildings outside of downtown and not such beautiful areas, but they'll always be full because they're cheap.
Right.
Like your investment properties don't need to be glamorous.
Right.
I actually coach my clients to not buy glamorous properties for their investment properties, because the higher end, the more high end the property, the more susceptible it is to being affected during a downturn in the economy, right? Because like we were saying, $6,500 is a lot for rent. But there's a lot of people that build these luxury buildings where those rents are at that. Right. I worked in property management for a decade. Right. And a lot of the buildings, the 2-bedrooms start at $10,000. Like they're super high end, right? But when the economy goes down, those same apartments, they have to be filled, right, to keep that building cash flowing. But no one can afford it. No one can afford it. Right. Tank right so then the property value starts to go down. They have to sell the property if they're not cash flowing at the level that they need to. So I personally believe in investing in the property that's going to be cheaper, because it's always going to be full, no matter what the economy is. There's jobs nearby, so you don't want to buy something in Detroit, right? Right. No offense to people in Detroit. I know, right? But Detroit was hit really hard, right? I mean, they are starting to put factories back and things like that, but you want to put it in an area where there's going to be jobs around, so it's easy to get into. So I would say buy that 1 to 4 unit property. It's not your ideal area, but it's a property that you can get into, you can qualify for, and then most importantly, you can cash flow. Live there for a year, 2 years, then go and buy your second place after you did a slight value add, because you could always put a little money into each of the units. Now your property value is increased, so you can actually refi at a higher amount. So if you invest, let's just call it $50,000 into a duplex, you probably raised your property value by $150,000. Right. Especially if you know people or can get things done at a better rate, which all you have to do is just ask. You just have to ask the right people. That's it. I mean, and the right people would be real estate agents, real estate developers, house flippers. You just talk to these people, and it's all about relationships. Everything is about relationships. Yeah. So you just make those relationships, make those connections, which is easy because people are more than happy to do deals with people. Especially if,
that's why I'm always encouraging, even sometimes when I'm in a bad mood and I leave the house, I'm like, you have to be nice to everybody, because you never know who you're going to run into or who you're going to talk to or what connections that they have that, it's not using people, it's collaborating with people and creating this community that can, get all these things done together so that everybody can benefit off of it. So Now, we were talking about down payment amount. So, Biden's new down payment assistant grant plan.
Right.
So, I was reading about that.
Yeah.
I know the basics of it, but can you elaborate on, because I know it has to do with, and it includes people whose parents have never bought houses, which doubles down for me, because my parents are, they've never bought or owned a house. So there's a lot of factors that would make me qualify for that. But what else does that entail? Because I'm sure you know way more than I do.
So it hasn't been passed yet, so it's not anything that's like solid yet.
Yeah.
But the idea is to try to help first generation home buyers that are actually of color. So that
doesn't, is it only?
I think it's only.
Damn. Well, there goes that. But anyways, please proceed, because this is still important.
I think it's only. But essentially, if your parents never owned a home, if you're a minority, so it has to be a ethnicity that has been disadvantaged. So that's why they
Well, that's a minority.
Yeah, that's why they ruled out. I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. It's still highly important.
Yeah, so it's still really important. And essentially what they want to do is give you a $25,000 credit is what it's proposed right now.
Right.
So that $25,000 credit is a gift. It's nothing you have to pay back.
Yeah, it's a grant.
It's your down payment.
That's insane.
Yeah, they're literally giving you your down payment. So essentially you can stop paying rent. You can stop sharing that 2-bedroom apartment in Hollywood. You can get something in South LA that's a duplex and not put any money down, and you just pay the same rent, and now you have a cash flowing asset because somebody next door in that duplex is paying you rent. Now you're a landlord, now you're a property owner. Live there for, like I said, 2-3 years. Even if you decide, hey, you know what I really hate after 6 months, you could always rent it out in a certain kind of a way to a family friend or something like that, and get somebody in there, and that could still work in your favor. Yeah. I'm not telling anybody to break the law. I'm just saying. Just saying,
there's advantages to this. You can turn this whole grant plan into basically a new business plan of cash flow for you.
100%.
Which is
if you're renting
amazing.
And you fit those basic criteria, you can get $25,000 credit, which is your down payment on that duplex in an area that, like I said, is not glamorous, but it doesn't need to be glamorous. This is an investment property for you, right? So just everyone should look at it that way.
Yeah.
Because, you sharing that luxury 2-bedroom in Hollywood or wherever you are isn't actually benefiting you. It's not cash flowing for you. You're benefiting the landlord, which is great if you want to do that. But I personally think that everyone should become a homeowner, and sooner than later. And with this Biden tax credit, if that goes through, every minority should really run and take advantage of it while it's there.
Yeah.
Because if he doesn't get a second term, that's gone.
I know. It's gone. It's not coming back. It is gone.
Yeah.
We're going to push on this one and the student loan one, because these need to...
Oh, man.
These need to go.
Seriously. I mean, I feel like right now the administration, they're doing everything they can to prop up the economy.
Right.
They lowered the interest rate. That's pretty much the biggest thing that kept the economy going. Because if everyone's afraid, they hold on to money. And money stops changing hands, and that kills the economy because it creates shrinkage, right?
Yeah.
So we need the economy to expand. So we need people to actually be trading money, because that's people make money, and you get money, and then you spend money, and now the money's moving hands. And that's what we want. That's why almost everybody and their mother got the PPP loan.
Right.
You didn't even have to have all the qualifications to get it. I don't know. I'm just saying.
I don't know about that, but
I don't know about all that.
It is.
I don't know about all that, but essentially, the administration was giving you money to spend.
Yeah.
They need people to spend money. If the people aren't spending money, the economy's going to crash.
Yes.
So, people need to spend money. We would have been in the worst recession of all time if they didn't do that.
Right.
They didn't make those interest rates zero, essentially.
Yeah.
If they didn't make all the qualifications so loose the second time around on that PPP thing, the economy would have been on the toilet.
Yeah.
They needed that money to go out, and they need people to spend it to keep it going. And essentially, that's still what they're doing. They need people to still buy homes, and I feel like this administration does want to help. I feel like they do. They kind of ran on that platform, and they're putting their money where their mouth is.
Yeah. Literally
putting their money where their mouth is. So take advantage, because it might not be here in 4 years. That's what I'm going to say. Take advantage.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty much, those are the questions that I have regarding that. Is there anything else that you maybe want to say or touch on or can think of that would really be...
feel like we got it all. I mean, like I said, I will leave you guys with, if you remember nothing else I said, but if you just remember cash flow, I will consider this a win. I will consider this a win. However you can cash flow. However you can get passive income, create that passive income. Having a great job is fantastic, but you need to do that and have cash flow. Because unfortunately for us, the retirement plans, the 401ks, being real with you, like person to person, if you were right here with us, it's a joke, right? Social Security is a joke. We're not going to get that.
I was going to say, we're not even going to get that.
Yeah, it's not for us. It's not going to work. The amount of inflation is going to turn your like $1 million retirement plan, it'll be worth nothing. Yeah. I'm sorry. It'll be worth absolutely nothing.
It's going to be bad.
Yeah. So if you get these cash flowing assets, they're going to continue to appreciate at the speed of inflation. So you're not going to lose any money. And more than that, the people in your tenants, the people in these investment properties are paying your loan for you.
Yes.
So essentially, you just get one property. You do this one thing, and especially if you get this Biden credit, all you do is stop paying rent.
Yeah.
And put it into this investment property. But once you get that one, wait 10 years, and that 1 turns to 2. Wait 10 more years, that 2 turns to 4.
Yeah.
That's your retirement. And you've been cash flowing the whole way down.
Yep.
Right? That's your retirement. That is it.
There you go. Now, as we do at the end of all of them, he has chosen an organization. So which organization did you...
Color of Change, because we need change, and they, I think, are doing a fantastic job of awareness, creating events, being out there in the community, highlighting Black-owned businesses. This hat, Keith and James, is a Black-owned business.
There you go.
So I really appreciate what they're doing, and I feel like they're creating a positive change in the community, and I'm all for it.
That's great. So I will link all that information for Color of Change and the organization that he has chosen down below. How can everybody reach you?
Honestly, I'm going to treat you like a friend. My cell phone number is 310-738-2038.
There you go.
Call me, text me, there it is.
I'll also put his Instagram information down below.
It's all good. I don't check Instagram that much, but if you want to get me, text me.
Yeah.
I need to get better at social media. Like, I think I was telling you that.
Yeah.
I think I need to hire somebody to do it because I'm just not on it enough.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Like I said, if you want to get me, text me, call me.
Yep.
That's been my number for a long time. It won't change.
It's not gonna change.
There you go.
But I will leave you with that. Thank you so much for doing this. I know I got a lot of juicy information that is gonna help me down the line.
I'm really glad.
But yeah, that's going to be it for us.
Thank you for having me.
And we will see you next time.
Thank you.